straight from America's hometowns. This is All News Channel.
Thousands of lives were suddenly ended by evil, despicable acts of terror.
President Bush speaking about the loss of life from Tuesday's terrorist attacks, a number he says will run into the thousands. Hello, everyone. I'm Stan Turner. Thank you for joining us. U.S. leaders are trying to calm fears and restore public confidence after Tuesday's deadly, unprecedented terrorist attacks in both New York and the Pentagon. The president and his key cabinet members spoke to the nation on Tuesday night, and Chris Kimura has more.
Today, our nation saw evil, the very worst of human nature.
Less than 12 hours after the catastrophic crashes into the Twin Towers in New York and the Pentagon in Washington, President Bush tries to reassure the United States.
Terrorist attacks can shake the foundations of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundation of America. These acts shatter steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American resolve.
Earlier, the president's cabinet details disaster relief on the federal level. First, thousands of specialized medical workers are being mobilized.
They are all trained to deal with traumatic injuries and other emergency needs.
Also on the way, 12 huge search and rescue teams, which must make grim assessments and tally death tolls. Then a commitment from the nation's lead law enforcer to assign this case to thousands of FBI agents.
The determination of these terrorists will not deter the determination of the American people. We are survivors, and freedom is a survivor.
But one freedom is already fading in air travel. Aside from Tuesday's grounding of all flights nationwide, the Transportation Secretary is taking long-term steps, reminiscent of war times, to ensure security's priority is pronounced at airports.
There will be higher levels of surveillance, more stringent searches. Airport curbside luggage check-in will no longer be allowed. There will be more security officers and random identification checks.
Meantime, investigators continue combing the wreckage for people and the plane's so-called black boxes, similar to these. Like needles in gigantic smoldering haystacks, there are 8 tiny boxes that recorded whatever happened in those cockpits and could provide key clues about the hijackers and the worst terrorist attack ever. In Washington, I'm Chris Kimura reporting.
Republicans and Democrats alike say they stand behind the president following Tuesday's attacks. Dozens of lawmakers gathered in front of the Capitol at twilight. House Speaker Dennis Hastert said it's still not clear who's responsible for the attacks, but he said he wants to assure Americans that officials have leads and will do everything in their power to find who is to blame and then punish them.
But one thing that happens here in this place is when American suffers, and when people perpetrate acts against this country, we as a Congress and as a government stand united, and we stand together. As the representatives of the people, we are here to declare that our resolve has not been weakened by these horrific and cowardly acts.
Congress will convene on Wednesday for the sole purpose of reacting to the attacks. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff says the armed forces are prepared to take action if needed. FBI and Pennsylvania State Police have secured the crash site of United Airlines Flight 93. That was one of 4 commercial jetliners that crashed after being commandeered by hijackers. They say they are treating the area as a crime scene.
At this point, we're not prepared to say it's an act of terrorism, even though it does appear to be that.
45 people were on board the San Francisco-bound United flight when it crashed near Pittsburgh. The FBI has established a command post at the site, and the Bureau plans to bring in evidence response teams and the National Disaster Squad to assist in the investigation. Local police are warning gawkers and news media to keep away from the secured areas. World leaders have acted with revulsion to the attacks in the United States, but some people expressed joy over the attacks against the U.S. Palestinians in the West Bank were seen dancing in the streets following the attack. 2 Palestinian organizations said the attack was in response to America's pro-Israeli policy, but leader Yasser Arafat condemned the attack and denied responsibility. A leading terrorism expert says he's not surprised by Tuesday's strikes and that he can't believe it didn't happen sooner. University of Mississippi professor Chester Quarles says most potential terrorist targets in the U.S. are not ready for an assault on a scale of Tuesday's events.
Most American agencies, our military, our federal government, are rhetorically prepared. But most of us really don't believe that something like this is going to happen in the great old United States of America. So the only surprise that I've had in my lifetime is that an event of this magnitude didn't occur 10 or 15, 16 years ago.
Quarles says he will watch with interest how President Bush reacts to the terrorist attacks. Coming up, more reaction from Tuesday's attacks. Please stay with us. People across the nation are trying to deal with the effects of Tuesday's tragedy, the impact of the apparent terrorist attacks rippling across America. Reporter Colleen Burns has more.
Schools, businesses, public buildings, and airports are lowering their flags to half-staff. People across the country are worried about the nation's security, as well as their loved ones on the ground and in the air. People from all over the nation are trying to do whatever they can to help during the crisis.
You know, I just can't sit at home and watch this on TV. I got to feel like I got to do something.
So what are you offering to do?
So I just came down here to the Christ Hospital to see if I can donate some blood.
The tragedies in New York, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. have put a severe strain on the nation's already low blood supply. The Red Cross is asking for any help it can get.
People have just responded voluntarily, and we are accepting donations from anybody who would like to give and help out in this crisis.
Red Cross officials say lines are getting so long that people should make reservations for donations. Lines are also around the block at gas stations across the country. In a wave of panic, drivers are topping off their gas tanks. Although no gasoline refineries were targeted by the attacks, people are still concerned about the nation's gas supplies.
Well, I think it's a panic, probably unnecessarily so. It's kind of like hoarding was during the Second World War. It's a terrible thing, but when everybody does it, you can't let your family go without food or without gasoline.
Petroleum experts say wholesale gas prices surged 30 cents a gallon within hours of the attack. Some analysts predict you could pay more than $2 a gallon for your next tank of gas. In addition to many of the nation's government buildings and airports shutting down, many of the country's shopping malls closed for security reasons, including the nation's biggest, the Mall of America. As the nation tries to come together to help in whatever way they can, they're also looking for answers as to why and how something like this could happen. This is Colleen Burns, All News Channel.
By the way, gas prices reached $5 a gallon in Oklahoma City. New York Mayor Rudolph Giuliani says the city's doing everything it can to provide relief to the countless victims. Speaking with Governor George Pataki, the mayor said crews did not immediately know how many people died when the planes crashed into the towers and the towers then collapsed. He did say that many firemen and police officers are among the victims, and he urged New Yorkers to pray for strength during this tragedy.
I want the people of New York to be an example to the rest of the country and the rest of the world that terrorism can't stop us. American democracy is much stronger than vicious, cowardly terrorists, and we're going to overcome this.
We're just confident that, well, this is a horrible attack, and one that is despicable and really unthinkable in its magnitude. We will get through this, and we will continue to have a great and free country, state, and society.
Mayor Giuliani says crews most likely won't be able to sift through the debris until Wednesday. Officials say more than 50,000 people worked in the World Trade Center. The terrorist attacks threw cities across the nation into a state of heightened security. In Chicago, the Sears Tower was evacuated. Several thousands of workers were forced from the building as police and security dogs looked for bombs. None was found. At Chicago's O'Hare Airport, thousands of stranded passengers were met by police with bomb-sniffing dogs looking for any sign of explosives. No explosives were found, and many are feeling the fear.
My husband was in the Navy 20 years. I mean, we're a real military family, and we fought to protect our country all our lives, you know, and it's like, you know, what's going to happen?
As I was coming off the train, I'm thinking to myself, I'm coming across from the Sears Tower, and I'm literally looking for planes up around us. I'm thinking, God, at any given moment, a plane could come crashing down, and all of us, any one of us, just, at any given time.
The FAA plans to ground planes across the country until at least noon Wednesday. No word when the Sears Tower will reopen. The stock market never opened on Tuesday, and it will remain closed on Wednesday. The Securities and Exchange Commission will decide on Wednesday when to reopen the markets. Markets around the world fell sharply on news of the attack. Others ended their trading sessions early. We'll be right back.
These binoculars let you see a distant bird up close. But how well can you hear it? Now get sonic hearing with Sonic Ears. It's like having binoculars for your ears. Imagine being able to hear sounds that other people can't, or listening to a joke clear across the room. Sonic Ears is so small, it's the size of a pager, and it clips conveniently to your belt. The button-type headphones fit comfortably in your ears like a personal stereo. No one ever needs to know that you have sonic hearing. Now you can sit in the balcony and hear like you're in the front row orchestra. Take part in seminars and lectures without missing a word. Join in any conversation even if you're in another room. And keep track of children as they wander off to play. Sonic Ears picks up and amplifies sounds up to 30 yards away. You can watch TV without turning up the volume and even watch in bed without disturbing others. Your Sonic Ears amplify sounds up to 50 decibels, and there's even a volume control so you can set just the level you want. With Sonic Ears, you might even hear a few things that may surprise you.
Wait till Dad sees the new fishing reel I just got him for his birthday.
You'll hear things you've never heard before when you start to experience the world with Sonic Hearing. And here's the best part. You'd expect to pay $40, even $50. But Sonic Ears is yours for only $19.95. If it doesn't give you the most dynamic hearing you've ever enjoyed, return it for a complete refund. Now you can hear distant sounds you never thought possible. Don't wait to experience Sonic Hearing. Have your credit card ready and order your Sonic Ears now.
To order your Sonic Ears, have your credit card ready and call toll-free 1-800-996-1400 or send check or money order for $19.95 plus $5.95 shipping and handling to Sonic Ears, 6960 Eastgate Boulevard, Lebanon, Tennessee. But for quicker service, call 1-800-996-1400.
And now, recapping the hour's top stories. 2 hijacked planes crashed into the World Trade Center towers on Tuesday in an act of terrorism. The impact caused and resulting fire caused the towers to collapse. Officials fear thousands could be dead. A hijacked plane also crashed into the Pentagon, opening a gaping hole on one side. And Tuesday's attacks fueled a gasoline scare in parts of the country. Prices jumped to $5 a gallon in Oklahoma. Cars lined up well into the streets.
Now, weather from America's hometowns.
Hello, I'm meteorologist Joe Bender. Here's a look at your national forecast. We're continuing to watch pretty dry conditions throughout the eastern half of the country. Now that the front moved through, what we're going to see is dry conditions with the exception of the mid-Atlantic states through Florida, where there could be some thunderstorm activity. A cold front continues moving through the Great Lakes. That's going to drop in some cooler air from all the way from the Great Lakes to the northern plains. Highs only in the 60s through Wednesday afternoon. Warm still across the east, though. New York's high at 77 degrees for Wednesday. Warmer in Atlanta at 84, and you can see those showers and thunderstorms down across the southern portions of Florida. Warm and dry throughout the west. In fact, we're going to see highs in excess of 90 degrees around Dallas, 83 in New Mexico, San Francisco, and along the coast maybe in the mid-70s. A little bit cooler, though, as we move north. Seattle at 74 and Missoula, Montana, only 69 degrees. That cool air is going to stick around for the next few days across the northern half of the country. That's a look at your national forecast. Have a great day.